This lesson is on Go Tell Aunt Rhody, number 4 in Book 1. I like to teach Go Tell Aunt Rhody in 2 different versions. The first version is the one that you'll find in the book. It's the normal song that we all know. The second version of the song is something where I change what's written in the book only a little bit, but that little change totally affects the sound of the piece and makes it really exotic and totally different. I like to call that version the Snake Charmer version, and this is how that one sounds. Suddenly I've taken the normal song and turned it into something completely different, and the change is very simple. So what I'm going to do is explain to you the techniques that are needed in both the normal and the Snake Charmer version. They're the same in both songs, and then I will teach you the special trick to turn the normal version into the Snake Charmer version. Okay, the most important thing to understand about the basics of this song is that there are 3 different kinds of note values in the song. We have short notes, we have long notes, and then we have really long notes. So we need to make sure that we have enough bow to do each of those kinds of notes properly. For the short notes, we're just going to use half of the bow. For the long notes, we'll use the whole bow, but for the really long notes, it'll be a slow bow, okay? So if I were to sing the song according to the amount of bow I would use, let's listen to how that would go. All right, we start with whole, half, half, whole, 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 half, half, whole, whole, half, half, whole, whole, half, 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 really slow, whole bow. Okay? So now that I've sung it that way, watch me play it using, again, those exact amounts of bow. Hopefully you saw that on that last note I moved my bow really, really slowly to make sure I had enough room to make the note last as long as it should. Okay. Now, in case you're wondering how to identify which notes get a half bow, which notes get a whole bow, and which notes get a really slow whole bow, it's the difference between eighth notes, those are the half bows, quarter notes, those get the whole bow, and then half notes, which get the really, really slow whole bow. I've marked it in your music, and if not, then ask me in your lesson and I'll show you exactly what those look like. But that's how you know how much bow to use. That's it. That's really the basics of Go Tell Aunt Rhody, whether you're playing the normal version or the Snake Charmer version. But there's one other element that you want to be aware of for both songs, and that's the echo that comes in the second line. Remember, it's always a good idea to change the music a little bit. If you've played one thing once, and you do the same thing right after it, it's nice to kind of switch it up to vary it a little bit. So the easiest and best way to do that now is to play the second time softly, like an echo. So listen to the second line. I'm going to play the main melody there for you. Now I do almost exactly the same thing, but I'm just going to play it softly to make the echo. So hopefully you heard the difference in volumes there. Now, you probably noticed that when I played it softly for the echo, I didn't use as much bow, and that's okay. When you're playing softly, it's okay to use smaller bows. But every other time, I want to make sure that I'm using just the right amount of bow for the right kind of note. So now, let's talk about how to turn the normal version into the Snake Charmer version. It's really a very simple process. It's this. Every time you play a first finger, whether it's on the A string or the E string, you're going to stretch that first finger far away from your second. You're going to stretch it all the way back till it's almost at the edge of the violin. And you're going to play it there. Listen to the difference. This is a normal one. Here's a Snake Charmer low one. hopefully you see. For the snake charmer version, here's my second finger. I'm going to wiggle my first finger up in the air and stretch it way, way back. You can see a really big gap here now. Then I play the low one. Now, in order to keep that snake charmer sound, it's really, really important to make sure that your 1 and your 2 stay very far apart. It's maybe a little easier to stretch back for the 1, but once you've used it, make sure you stretch forward again for the second finger. Keep those 2 fingers far apart, okay? So now what I'm going to do is perform Go Tell Aunt Rhody for you 2 times in a row. I'm not going to stop. The first version will be the normal version, the one that's in the book. Watch my bow carefully and listen for the echo. And the second version, I'll go straight into that, will be the snake charmer version. Again, watch my bow. I'll be doing the same thing for the snake charmer version. I'll do an echo for the snake charmer version, but I'm going to really stretch my first finger back far away from my second finger. So listen for the changes it makes. Go Tell Aunt Rhody.